Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are so pleased to get to host the second in the series of Impact and Influence Strategies with none other than Stacey Hanke. She is the CEO, founder of Stacey Hanke, Inc. Thank you, Stacey, for joining us today.
Thank you, Misty. Thanks for taking the time.
Last month, we had the opportunity to get to talk to you about executive presence, what it is, how to get it, what tips you had. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit and ask you some questions in regards to how an individual that doesn't necessarily have the luxury of getting to work directly with you one-on-one in a classroom setting, how they get to kind of hone in on those skills and learn to strengthen their own skills, their own influence, their own ability to impact others through a program that you have called Take 5. So the first question I had for you, Stacey, was you work with so many clients face-to-face. And in your mentoring programs, you do executive coaching, executive mentoring, you work with class-based groups of individuals. But how can a professional who doesn't have access to you or to these programs learn to best improve their ability to influence, whether at work or at home or in personal relationships or professional situations?
Mm-hmm. There's two concepts, and this is why Take 5 was designed, because we received numerous requests from two categories: individuals who we had worked with, and after we worked with them, they were always asking, how do I continue? How do I hold myself accountable? And then you have the other group of individuals who you're also referring to, which are individuals that don't have the opportunity to whether attend our sessions or work with me one-on-one. Take 5 is designed, it's a 1-year, 52 weeks. And now if you put that in perspective, that's about 60 hours of your development in 1 year, which really is not a lot, yet doable. And what happens with Take 5, every Monday morning, you receive, as a mentee in the program, you receive a message from us. And we're trying to adapt to all the different learning styles. Therefore, 1 week you receive a video of me explaining a skill, a technique to work on 5-minute segments throughout that week to enhance and improve your level of influence. Then, in addition to every week receiving a message, whether it's a video, whether it's an audio, again, trying to adapt to all the different learning styles, every month I do a live telechat. And that's where the mentees in Take 5, they come on the phone with me for an hour, and it's their opportunity to spend one-on-one time with me. Take 5, when you put that really into perspective, the concept is if you receive a message from us on Monday on what we recommend you practice that week, usually around Friday, Saturday of that week, you start to forget, and therefore we're there to remind you every Monday. The concept of Take 5, that name came from the concept of everything that we throw you every Monday morning, all you need to do, if you truly just took 5-minute segments out of your day for a week, for 52 weeks, you would be at a completely different place when it comes to your level of impact and influence. That's Take 5. Now, part of Take 5, Misty, a big part of it is giving individuals tips on how do you find yourself an accountability partner. How can you work with this accountability partner to help you every day, every week? And that would be a recommendation for someone who doesn't partake in Take 5. You cannot improve your level of communication doing it yourself, because we talked in our last Google Hangout last month that we don't know what we don't know, and we're unconscious, incompetent. We always don't know how people see and perceive us through our communication. Therefore, having someone help you hold yourself accountable and giving you friendly reminders of when you're not clear and concise, when you're creating distractions through your body language that's preventing your message from coming across. Those would be the 2 ways I would recommend if you want to continue this whole process and you don't have the opportunity to work with someone like myself.
So 5 minutes, that's almost, that's a lot for me to wrap my head around, because it seems like people get hung up on how difficult it may be to improve their level of influence in the workplace. But 5 minutes, that's a small amount of time, but it seems as though it would just make wonderful leaps and bounds in somebody's ability to communicate thoroughly, effectively, and get someone to really act on what they have to say. What made you decide 5 minutes? What is it in that 5-minute time frame that that person really gets to hone in on with you in the Take 5 series that makes it such a significant piece of time?
Well, you're hitting on the biggest issue. The biggest challenge I hear people say is, I don't have time. And my whole concept is, you're talking about your development. You don't have time to develop.
Right, you don't have time not to do it.
Correct, exactly. It's not that we don't have time, it's how do we prioritize our time. You know, that's a whole other topic for another day. The concept, though, is everything that I throw out there every Monday morning with Take 5, it's if you practice it for 5-minute segments throughout your day. Now, here's the trick behind that. If you would practice 5 minutes, right? You practice 5 minutes a time every day, you start to see the benefits. And suddenly you realize, okay, it's not about actually carving out more time of my day, because I communicate. We communicate verbally and non-verbally every moment of the day, both personally and professionally during those waking hours. That means what I give and Take 5, people start realizing, oh, this really isn't about scheduling more time in my day. It's more about carving out the conscious energy that when I am in a meeting this afternoon in the conference room, when I'm having a phone conversation, or I'm in the hallway back at the corporate office having a conversation, those are all opportunities, Misty, that you can be constantly thinking and focusing on, how am I coming across? Am I clear? Am I concise? Am I fidgeting? Are my eyes not connecting with the individual when I'm looking at them? That's where Take 5 comes from, that it's easy. It is so easy to find 5-minute segments throughout our day, because we're communicating verbally and non-verbally every moment of the day.
Every time we have an opportunity to do one of these segments and speak, I always think to myself, I could wrap this into my daily communication so easily. What is my hesitation to jump into a program like this? What do you usually find is the hesitation of other people to commit to learning these skills and really implementing them into their day-to-day program?
2 reasons. As much as it truly is to wrap your arms around this concept, because you communicate every moment, every day, it's still doing the work. When you think about behaviors, everything that I teach is about changing behaviors. It's changing habits that have been ingrained in most people's lives for a very long time, that suddenly, once they start working with me, or even through Take 5, they start realizing it's more work than they thought. I think it's also because, Misty, we look at communication. Are you kidding me? Communication, I do it all the time. I've been doing this all my life. It's easy. And it's not easy, and that's the part where people start to struggle. It's so similar to playing golf. I was out on the golf course yesterday, and that was a friendly reminder, as it's been a while since I've played golf, and it's frustrating, and I can feel myself getting frustrated yesterday, and I realized, here's what's happening. I have not touched a golf club in several months, so now I'm suffering. And it's interesting because it was good for me to be out there yesterday. I'm always using sports analogies, and I'm telling individuals, if you've ever played a sport, you know that if you've been playing that golf game or you've been playing that tennis game for a period of time, the way you like to do it, you've created these habits. Suddenly someone starts to correct you, and you're like, whoa, I don't like the way it feels. It feels uncomfortable. We go into denial. Some of us get defensive, and I think that's the first reason, Misty. I think that's the first reason where people realize it's too hard. Think of New Year's resolutions. By January 15th of every year, 1% of individuals who have had New Year's resolutions have already gotten rid of those.
Oh, goodness, that's sad.
It's sad. You think about it, that's 15 days into the year, and we've already given up. So I think that the fact that it's hard to do, it's harder than most people believe. The other reason is we just don't like to see ourselves. We don't like seeing and hearing the truth. And I've shared this with you before in our conversations that because I do a lot of videotaping, I do a lot of audio recording of my mentees, when they see themselves on playback for the first time, sometimes that's really hard. It's hard because most of us believe we are truly better communicators than we really are. And when they see the truth and they realize, oh, I don't like the way I am seeing myself, either the excuses start or they roll up their sleeves and they'll say, you know what, I'm ready to do this. And those are the individuals we want to partner with.
So it really sounds like this Take 5 program gives you an opportunity to look yourself in the mirror and have a really good dose of reality to say, where can I improve? What skills do I need to improve? And how do I take these with me in my everyday conversations?
Mm-hmm. And why I want to know? I'm so amazed at, especially leaders, that they'll come to us and they know this is all part of the process, and sometimes they'll take a step back and they'll say, I don't know, what's happened to me so far has worked for me. I'm under the mindset of, don't you always want to be better? And when it comes to communication, there's always a process. There's always an opportunity to improve. Talking about influence and all these series that I'm doing with you, Misty, this is a long time process. This isn't something that you sit through a course or you read our materials, you read our tweets that we post, and you're suddenly cured. That's not what this is. This truly is, everyone is in school. A leader knows that they're always in school and there's always that opportunity to improve, especially when you're talking about the reputation you're creating through how you show up and how you stay showed up in every conversation. My father is always a friendly reminder. He would always tell my sisters and I that it's not just about how you walk into the room, it's also how you leave the room. Because how you leave the room is usually what people are now saying behind your back, whether that's good or not so good, and therefore I think you need to know. At some point you just need to see through the eyes and ears of your listener.
Wow, that says a lot. It sounds like your dad had some pretty good insight to share with you. That's great. You always think of that initial meeting, that initial impression, when it really is the lasting impression. What are we doing the entire time we're in someone's presence? Yes. But now, Stacey, you did mention earlier that you work with leaders, and that leaders really do hesitate a lot of times to get that good, healthy dose of feedback to make them better. With this particular program, did you create Take 5 specifically for those that are leaders, or who would you consider to be the primary beneficiaries of this type of program?
Take 5 is really designed for anyone. And that just comes down to this concept, Misty, of we are all communicating at some point. The program, the way that it's put together, it talks about delivery skills, body language, it talks about content, it talks about how do you handle these really tough situations that we all find ourselves in, whether it's dealing with challenging questions, personality styles. There's an element around storytelling in that piece, and I think we all tell our story. That's really our brand. Take 5, it is across the board. It's laid out in a way that anyone can benefit from that program, whether it's someone who's advancing their career, someone who just wants to stay right where they're at in their career, as well as helping individuals with their day-to-day communication in their personal life.
Very good, very good. Well, now, so where can our listeners and our viewers that are watching us right now, where can they learn more about the program?
Mm-hmm. You know, Misty, that I am big about video, and that means Take 5 is explained on our website. When they go to our homepage, there is a Take 5 logo on the top upper right. If they click on that logo, they'll go to a page that has all the descriptions of what it is, but they'll also have a video of me explaining what that process is. And even if they don't want to go there, I am all about the personal touch. They are more than happy. I'm happy to take an email from them if they want to talk live and in person about Take 5.
Wow, so they get to talk to you personally, one-on-one. That's great. Mm-hmm. Well, Stacey, we have just a few minutes left, and we do have a couple of questions that have come in from some of our viewers. Okay. One question is, I employ and manage several dozen people that do what I tell them when asked. So why would I benefit from the Take 5 program when my employees are following direction?
Well, this isn't about following direction. Take 5 is really about how can you enhance how your employees show up every day in every interaction. How do you make sure that your employees, what they say, are consistent with how they're saying it? Keep in mind, Take 5 is not about delegation skills. It's not about managing people. It's really about how can you help your teams, and this questioner's question, how can you help your teams have more influence, have more impact through their communication Monday to Monday in every conversation with every type of communication medium? And there's a level of productivity there too, because we know that when your message, your content is not consistent with your body language, productivity decreases and miscommunication increases.
So, excuse me. So it definitely seems like it's more inspiring others to want to do what you have to say instead of doing it because they're being told to do it. Do you often find that?
I do, and I don't want people to confuse that what I do is about how do you influence your teams. Just if they do the work, well then you must be influential. It's more, is what you're saying always being understood the way you want it to be said? Are you clear? Are you articulate? Are you concise? Do you have challenges with individuals being on their phones, their technical gadgets? I mean, that's just a small taste, Misty, of what Take 5 will cover. So if our listeners think about, well, communication and the many conversations I will be in today alone, much less this week, how can I take my body language, how can I take my messaging, take it to the next level so that I am perceived confident, credible, trustworthy, whatever your perception you want others to create you of, that is there all the time, Monday to Monday.
Oh, it's a wonderful, good clarification. Absolutely. So the second question we have from a viewer, and this will be our last question before we wrap up, is this is probably one that I've personally struggled with in the workplace sometimes, and it's the confusion between being respected and liked. So this question from our viewer says, I'm liked at work and I think I'm respected, yet my ideas are always overlooked for someone else's. I'm getting very frustrated, and I'm not sure how I can get heard. Do you have any suggestions for me?
Let me give her a couple of options. She's hitting on something that's really important. When I talk about the levels of influence, the first level is like, the second level is respect, the third is trust, and the fourth is influence. We need to be careful. Just because people like us does not mean they respect us. And if they don't respect you, it's going to be extremely challenging to reach that level of trust, which leads into influence. If she's getting her ideas are not being heard, she's got two options. I think she should start asking for feedback. And feedback is not, how did I do? What did you think? Because that risk there leads to fake or fluff feedback, which typically sounds like, good job, nice work. I would ask whoever she needs to go to, who she's doing some of these interactions with, to find out, give me feedback. When I'm in this conversation, when I'm in this meeting, how can I be heard? Am I not being concise? Is it taking me too long to get to the point? Am I too soft-spoken? Does my body language come across as I'm uncertain, I'm not confident? So, Misty, what I just listed, you can hear that there's so many items, skill sets about our communication that could be flawed that we may not even be aware of. If she's guessing, though, she's really second-guessing and her ideas are not being heard, something is not right. And it could be, too, that the way she communicates, how she puts the message together is not clear. There's a lot of times what we hear in our head, and just because we relay a message does not guarantee that we're understood the way we want to be understood. Feedback's going to be key. And she needs to ask for feedback, he or she, from someone who can be honest with her, will tell her how it is, and not sugarcoat it. And maybe it is just a peer first. It could even be someone in her personal life, because however this person communicates in their personal life is probably how they're communicating at work as well.
Wow, that's great. That's great advice, and it sounds like she could definitely use the Take 5 program to be able to start
The start.
partnering it with the feedback. Exactly.
Got it.
Well, Stacey, it has been such a pleasure to get to interview you again today. I always have to stop myself and take a good long look in the mirror and start questioning my own communication skills. Like you said before, I oftentimes wonder when I speak, when the other person comes back with the answer or with the dialogue, I think to myself, that's not at all what I was trying to say. So I think there's opportunity for me as well as anyone and everyone who's watching.
Well, and you're hitting on an important point, and it's all about awareness, and that's what Take 5 is going to do, is create our listeners huge awareness to really get a perspective of what their listeners are seeing and hearing.
Wonderful. Stacey, just to wrap up real quick, let us know your website address so our viewers can log on and learn more about the program.
You got it. It's Stacey Hanke Inc. So it's StaceyHankeinc.com.
Wonderful. Stacey Hanke Inc. Thank you again, Stacey. We hope you have a wonderful day, and we will see you next month for our third installment.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.